All right, Matthew Laporte, what's come over you?
I think I need to share I know I've told you, Marty, and maybe others, but I need to share my journey a bit, okay?
Please.
Because I hear all your thoughts and all your concerns, and I align with them, but I gotta say I'm much more radical than possibly most of you, okay? And it started around early February where, I have some clients I'm very close with, Jay being one of them. And at some point he said to me, look, I use this new AI Claude to build a suitelet that allows me to do, all sort of things. And he showed it to me and I was like, what is this? Like, how come this person with limited dev knowledge could produce this awesome app all on his own on a weekend? I was way too busy to just figure it out. Too busy, too many meetings, too many, commitments I was trying to hold. But fortunately, I was going on vacation not long after. And on vacation, I had no meeting, nothing. And I said, okay, let me just take a look at it. And I've been completely blown away by what I could do. Completely blown away. Okay. So then I had the thought of, well, if my client can do this, I need to adapt quickly.
Mhm.
Like there's a real sense of urgency, a real one. And I need to adapt very quickly. So I think we all agree on the fact that NetSuite database is, awesome. We have all that power. We can customize everything we want. There are no limits in terms of database, really. What has been the limited factor was how can we leverage it in a way that makes sense? We are in 2026 and we still use a 2010 user experience. It sucks. It's really bad, right? Um,
Mhm.
so why are we stuck in this? Like I have all those ideas, all those visions, but I'm so limited by the user experience, even though the database is phenomenal, right? So that's the thought that got triggered in terms of, well, now there's no more limit. And I've spent the last month pushing the limit as hard as I could. And to be honest, I haven't found one limit yet. There are some things I've learned along the way, but from a pure user experience, I haven't seen a single limit. And I'll show you a few that I saw what you produced. Let me show you mine, okay? And my thought really is about this. In my master in strategy, we used to talk a lot about what is the data, what is information, but
Mhm.
ultimately, what is intelligence? Okay.
Mhm.
How do you transform data to information to then intelligence? And we've never achieved intelligence in NetSuite, really. We've always been able to transform data into information, but we've never been able to go to the intelligence as at least the way I call it. We now have access to go into intelligence. This is like mind blowing what you can do once you get in that stage because you're not just providing information to your customers and to the user. You can also like, help him make decision, act on it, have all kinds of things. You just need to think about it. Okay. And I started with the mindset of let's throw everything away. Let's start as if blank page. Let's just build and learn. And the way we've used to do this before was okay. Well, we say with clients, we go in discovery mode. We get flow charts going, and you know how much I like drawing, right? So I were to draw all those flow charts and all those, I will write those design docs and so forth because ultimately the cost of dev was too high. That completely flipped. Dev can be done before design almost. I'm not saying we have to, I'm just saying we could. We can also work in parallel with design at the same time. As you develop, you design at the same time, you just go incrementally, right? So I'm just trying to learn the best patterns and so forth, but that's the mindset that I'm in, okay? So like the cost of dev is now extremely low that we can just, we can have five version to our clients and say, look, here's five version, pick the one you prefer, right? Cost me nothing, almost just time and tokens, a lot of
Mhm.
tokens. So okay, so I'm just giving you some of my background, okay? But and the final one was, the cost of sharing vision with others used to be extremely difficult and high because a vision is really kind of, it's in your brain. How do you explain to others who have different background and obviousness what your vision is? How do you align vision? That used to be so difficult. So now having that little friend that you play with all the time, sharing the vision has been a lot easier for me, let's say, okay? So let me show you just a few, okay? I built seven, I think, right now. Let's start with this one. Just this is the variance explanation. Okay, we build all those variance module. We can, all have that data to explain variance and so forth. But the user experience of it used to be so weak in NetSuite analytics and so forth. So the point was, okay, well, can we produce something that the executive could look at something that they care about? They care more about, okay, what's happened in the past. Are there any trends that we need to be concerned about? Okay, well, I have some executive views, and one thing you'll see in all my app is the most concerning, or the one point I'm really hard on is the concept of validating on the fly what I'm showing. So anytime it's tying to the financials, I always have some features that I built in my app to always look at the GL, for example, and confirm that whatever you're showing ties to the GL all the time. Here I have, some reconciliation with the GL, but I'm just showing, it's a much nicer user interface than what we used to produce, right? So executive management, so that's one of them. Just the drill down concept is just so simple for labor, material, understanding your variance. Now the next step would be intelligence. Now with all this, what should I do? Should I revalue my inventory? Should I challenge a vendor who charged me too much? Like, that's just the thing you need to think about. That's the next stage of information to intelligence, but that's just one of them. Another one is revenue sprints. They just try to assess, okay, how much their Salesforce has committed to close in the month. So the business owner, like, we've had the opportunity with the business owner to either go to a data warehouse and build all kind of analytics, or stay in NetSuite. And we made the point of staying in NetSuite, thinking first, 2 months ago, that we would use NetSuite analytics to do this. We scrapped everything about data analytics. We just use like built-in tool like this that we produce with AI.
Awesome.
And that just like Sankey charts like this is all live data on the fly.
It's an amazing view.
It's just awesome. And then if you know how to craft your application with, let's just load the first dashboard as fast as possible, but then just load everything else that you need to load afterwards. So you just play with the user experience. So everything is super fast, right? So can drill down to each of them, and obviously everything points to the record if there's another one. Pipeline for service revenue. They've been trying to just tell their regional leaders, okay, how much budget will they have in the next quarter and so forth based on forecast. Built a complete, snapshot module based on, again, queries, but still, I'm giving this to the controller and to the CFO to just say, okay, well, look, you can assess your service revenue pipeline right from this screen with different views, whatever it is. I also have my little reconciliation. So here, intelligence, which customers are slowing down on their service revenue? So I'm trying to help them understand, okay, maybe you should put focus a bit on these customers because they're trending much lower. You just need to really
Mhm.
think about what's possible.
But what but
Is it,
what you're showing right now, it dispels the myth that I got to build a power. I got to go out and build a whole data warehouse. Got to go do all these things. It's like, no, I'm right here in the data. It's live, but I'm just so
We're
blown
so
away
slow.
with being able to just visualize.
Here's another one. So, the concept of tying transaction, everything started as sales order, and then you have, well, or estimates, whatever. But just to understand, like, ultimately, it's just a chain of transaction, right? So can we even see it on a screen that would make sense? In this client, that mayor, I know I sent it to you, but this one was late fee invoice. Okay, so you have unpaid receivables, you need to, produce late fee invoices, but then how do you just well, you can produce it in the system, you can create invoices, but how do you just track it? Like it makes it so difficult. Okay, well, build a chain. You have your source, whatever it is, and then you just point to all of the other invoices you generated out of the original invoice, and I can show, okay, if a payment was applied with the activity that happened for a specific invoice and so forth. And this client said, okay, well, I want to tie back to my full AR because maybe a payment was misapplied or whatnot. So I said, okay, well, let's just build a full AR system on top of it that they can just look at and see the entire history. And this one doesn't have that much history. Let me try to pick one. Because what's, yeah, and Marty, I know you know you've been doing this too in trying to understand how are payment applied and when are we cleared and move on to the next step. Well, okay, well, here it is. At that point they were all clear, all clear, all clear, so here's everything that is open, and when it's paid in full it will clear and move on. So it's just, it's so interesting how you can build application like this to just put yourself in your customer's shoes and just, how would I like to see it, how would I like to use it, and here it
And,
is.
cool. And
So I
so,
can stop here.
well, you might as well show our app, right? Which is the one we did get deployed.
Oh,
Yeah, we got deployed.
Yes.
So tell us about your vision here. Why'd you do this? And tell us what's going on.
About Actor, what, about a year ago, year and a half ago, we said, you know, the way the SRP is built doesn't really align with how we view the world, right? We view the world in terms of project task, not customer, because project tasks are more meaningful in our eyes in terms of there is a business objective behind it and so forth.
Sure.
So we started building our own little smart sheet about project tasks because that's how we viewed it. But ultimately it was a lot to maintain and we just dumped it at that point. And this is what I did on vacation. I was like, okay, well, let me just start with something that I would use. And I said, well, okay, let me just reuse that smart sheet concept and let me just build it. And I built this with that background of, okay, well, if I were to think about my project tasks, how would I want to build an app that would just allow me to assess everything that's going on? And what is really management? What does that mean? Like, I said it a few times, but sometimes I find I'm a lazy person. There's like, if you ask me to repeat the same click 5 times, I'm really like mad at it. Like I hate to repeat tasks. So I said, okay, well, there's a lot that we could do to just automate some of the work and also, build intelligence on top of it. Because really what's going on in our life is that all of our people are writing time entries every week. They are, updating PTM messages. So there's a lot of value in what they're doing, but are we really leveraging all of it? I was challenging that idea, right? So I said, okay, let me just build an app that would, back project task based. So, here for solutions, here's a project task. I built a, quick customer overview. I can just, and Marty, this is fixed, so now I can just update, our opportunities, comments, and concerns, what we've been used to update in SRP. So it's right here. And honestly, I stole David Mish ideas, so I got to give him a little. But
Kudos.
the concept of, the burn rate and the chart to just see how are we trending on this, what is our expected burn for the future, when are we expecting to close it based on the budget. If I were to have a budget, it will show up here. So the general doesn't have one. Let me just pick one that has it. So here it shows, my expected burn. So it forecasts, am I going to go over budget or not? And this is, based on estimate time to complete with the rate at which that PTM is entered. So if you have only junior working on something, the rate is lower. So it's all like all built in. If I think you can even look at it, if you click view PTMs, you have, expected burn 16 hours a week, and there's a average. You can see right here, right?
Amazing.
So okay, but
yeah.
here's the like a very interesting thing. I built something that as soon as you open it, there's automatically a call to give you what, a status update for the last week. So I don't have to ask for it anymore. It's just boom, it is what happened in the past week. So as I manage, I can also see what happened from two source of information. time entries and PTM messages. I have access to them, right here. I can see it. Messages used to be a real pain in the butt in PTM because of all the signature, and when you reply you see the whole chain. I built a kind of a little way to just only extract the message versus not just all the junk, so you can easily really just see what's going on based on the date range. So if I want to look at the past 4 weeks, I now I have more, or I can generate also a summary of what happened with the concept of, okay, what were the main narratives, what were the commitments made, were they kept or not, what were the promises, and so forth. So you can see it all here. So I'm just trying to honestly play with this a bit. As we deploy this, my objective is to get your feedback really about how is that going, are you using it or not, what would you add or remove, or is the prompt how you would have designed it? Could we maybe even have prompt by resource lead? So here's my prompt, is your
Yeah,
prompt.
yeah,
So when I click generate summary, we all have something that ties
yeah.
to us. Even
Party
here,
prompt.
for example, for the opportunities and so forth. So it followed my standard. Okay, well, here it is, but it said, oh, let me use AI just so it knows it's me. And then, okay, well, in Q1, this is what's going on, and so on and so on. And this is suggested because I don't fully trust it yet. But if I wanted to, I would just accept, and it overrides the opportunities right here. So I was just having fun flipping from hours and dollars, showing the expected burn or not, breakdown of employee time, who worked on something. So, okay, let me pause because
So,
there's a
so, so,
lot.
so, so like guys, first it's like, wow. And it really is more like, first he's bringing forth the distinction. He's going to get data, information to intelligence. He's pushing himself into a thought domain of, I'm going to make it actionable, and I also want to get something intelligent out of it. That kind of mind, putting that together, is really awesome. Really, really transformative in terms of just what we think you could offer a client. I don't, it, where we could even go with something like this is transformative. First, I applaud him for being radical, and you're saying you still don't know the limits. And so the thing is there's a couple things that I see that are very important here. First, I don't even I can't even understand, like when I'm trying to load a customer record in NetSuite, why is it taking 15 seconds? Why is it taking 15 seconds to load a damn customer record when this thing is just, thank God this runs well. Okay. If it didn't run well, we'd be in deep trouble. But it's almost, you almost don't want to use the interface anymore, right? I want to be like, let me just create other worlds. And so, first, I think there's just an amazing offer to just go help clients, and let's just create another world. Let's just make it better already, for God's sake. Let's just help them. So, there's a side of me that just says we can make the world be not only better, it's going to be, it's like intelligence. This whole thing could be a theme, really, really about, you think you need a data warehouse? Think again. You think you need another CRM system? Think again. What you got here is a very powerful platform. You think that user interface is the problem? Yes, it is the problem. Let's fix that problem. Let's go to work and let's get this done. Let's get this done. And how many hours did you put in? I
That
know
one
this was the
about
one you were
20.
learning. Okay, but you are
Yeah.
learning, right? And this is the learning
Yes,
hours,
that was
right?
my first one. Yeah.
And now that you've done it and you're more skillful, what do you think the 20 would be? Maybe 15?
More or less. Yeah. I
More or
think
less.
you're
Okay.
15. Yep.